So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know you're probably watching this video and you're thinking, oh, this is a long one. You can just grab your tea, grab your dinner, and just have a long watch as we get into the real about my singleness journey. So I have been single for 4 years. Within those 4 years, I have grown in my relationship with God and just fallen in love with the person He created me to be. And on top of that, I have overcome a serious pornography addiction, and I put that up on Instagram, and I had people ask me so many questions for this Q&A. So thank you to everyone who sent a question. Some information before we get into this video. My hair is from my favorite hair company, hands down in the world, no question about it, my hair company, CDB London Hair. You may know it as CDB Eco. We have changed the name recently. We rebranded, and this is our bestseller at the moment, which is the Mandy wig. And at the moment you can get 15% off any wig on our website with the code CDB15. And yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know before I get questions on it, my hair is from CDB London. It is the Mandy wig with the 6x6 lace system, and my face is completely drugstore apart from one thing, and so I'm gonna link it all down, or not link it but list it all down below, just so that you know we can get free flowing with the questions without any interruption. Even if you are not a Christian in this time, I just want to encourage you that this is doable. You know, I did put that I have not spontaneously combust by not having sex for 4 years. I have flourished, and if this can be a informational and encouraging video, then that's exactly what I aim for it to be. God bless you guys. Let's get straight into the video course. So before we get into some really juicy questions real quick, I always get questions on videos like this where I'm doing my makeup, or I show you guys my bare face, about my skincare. Now my skin is dry combination, and recently I had some serious breakouts. I went to Ghana, and I don't know if it was to do with the dust in the, well, it probably was to do with the dust in the air, but I broke out on my forehead and on the sides of my face, and it's left me with these dark marks because I am one of those people who stupidly pops their spots and like picks at their scabs. And so I got sent some PR from Paula's Choice, and I have been using this as my skincare for the last 1 week. And so to prep my face, I used the hydrating gel to cream cleanser and the Paula's Choice Intensive Repair Cream, which has retinol in it. I don't have acne, and I know retinol is something that's usually associated with acne, but this is really, they sent it to me because it's good for dry skin. And so I've been using this, and I find that I've been using this morning and night, but I find that this isn't as moisturizing as I would kind of want. So I add their moisture renewal oil, like a drop of this into it, so that it balances out the moisture, and this is what gives me this really nice glow. Before that, I was using Nguvu black soap. I will leave the link or the information down below as to where you can get it. It is like the best black soap I've ever used, and it's also owned by a good friend of mine called Fredita. So that's what I was using before I broke out, but because I have broken out, I just wanted to use things with a bit more strength to them. You guys really were really supportive, first of all, when I said, okay, you know, I've been single for 4 years, I've been celibate, I've overcome a pornography addiction, and so many people were like, first of all, pornography addiction, yes. The majority of questions I did get were on how I overcame my pornography addiction. So I'm going to make a completely separate video, which is going to come out after this, just so that I can kind of go away and really put together information well, so that it can actually help people. Yeah, let's read some juicy comments, and let me do my eyebrows. How do you cope with family or society's pressure to be in a relationship? I find that a lot of social media culture revolves around, you know, young people kind of, you know, glamorizing and loving and kind of coveting to an extent the relationships of other people. While scrolling through social media, you know, you always have those stereotypical relationship goals, and when is my bae coming, and winter bae season, and all of that. So in the beginning, I didn't really have a lot of pressure from anyone, because at the time when I first started this journey, I was only 18 turning 19, so there was no like, girl, where's your boyfriend at? And I have a very supportive group of friends who kind of understood that, okay, if you've got a boyfriend, great. If you haven't, then you haven't. I have a lot of friends who still haven't had relationships up until now. They've never been in a romantic relationship. So singleness within my friendship group wasn't an unfamiliar concept. It wasn't an unfamiliar experience, and I was so thankful for that, because I had people around me, whether, you know, saved or not, or the same faith or not, who understood the journey that I was going through. And they may not have understood like the spiritual aspect of things, but they were definitely so supportive, and my friends didn't pressure me at all. I had had a lot of boyfriends that they had known about, and a lot of situationships which I had told them, you know, the stories, or they had seen the aftermath. And I think they also agreed, once I explained to them why I was doing it, they agreed that it was just very good for me, because they had seen kind of the effects that heartbreak and situationships and being cheated on and being so attached to men, dating people for the wrong reasons. They had seen the effect that that had all had on me, as well as just my own mental state and my own mental capacity. Now, as for my family, they also were the same, very supportive. They never really knew about my relationship statuses for them to be like, rah, like, are you dating someone? Why aren't you dating someone? This is alarming, because I was young and I was doing my undergraduate degree, and, you know, everybody was telling me, focus on your undergrad, forget about men. Then when I graduated, it was kind of like, okay, so where's your husband? And here I am like, yo, you lot were telling me to focus on my degree. What do you think I was doing? But also explaining to them that, you know, as I had understood at that time, it was God's timing, and I was waiting for God's timing. So how do I cope with family and society's pressures to be in a relationship? I don't mind it. I surround myself with people who understand and respect this journey. I've tried my best to make sure that I don't let the opinions of other people drive my life. I think everyone should realize you shouldn't live for the internet, because the internet changes all the time. You know, one day relationships are in fashion, then it's like, you know, bun men. Do you feel like your celibacy will end up affecting your sex life in marriage, as in you may not be keen to have sex? This also links to another question I got, and I've received a lot of questions about sex drive. And okay, I personally don't. I feel like maintaining my celibacy has helped me have a healthier outlook on sex and what sex should be. And so I think a lot of people end up with this issue of, okay, it's my wedding night, or now I'm in a, you know, a marriage, and I'm trying to have sex and I can't, because for so long your celibacy has been, or the celibacy journey had been defined by sex is wrong. I think one thing that really helped me, and you know, this happened actually by God, like himself, and being in a church that's very real about issues like this. You know, my church, like London, my pastors, my leaders, they are very vocal about these things. And one thing they always drummed into me during this kind of journey was, sex is not bad. Sex is something that God created. Sex itself is actually not a bad thing. The bad thing is fornication. And so in this journey, I've learned, don't hate sex, hate fornication. I feel like I would have developed a much more healthy and wholesome view of what true sex is, what sex is created for, how it's meant to be enjoyed in a non-damaging way, in a healthy way. And I think that would be the most lit sex I'll ever have in my life. What's your thought on having a certain age in mind that you want God to welcome in your potential husband? I think it's fine. Like, if you have an age where you're like, God, like, I'd like to get married at this specific age, I think, you know, let that be known. But be prepared for God to do whatever he wants to do. There's a saying that says, man makes plans and God laughs. I truly believe that. I have seen it happen in my life. You know, God, I want it this way, and it doesn't come that way. Always be open during this period of singleness for God to surprise you with whatever. He knows your readiness. He knows what he's trying to do with you, and so, or what he's trying to teach you. And so I don't think there's a time where you're ever ready. I think there's a time where God says, okay, the lessons I'm trying to teach you are different, And so I'm going to send you a new resource to learn more about me. And that resource in this case is a husband or a partner. How did you manage to stay celibate for so long? So I've been celibate for 4 years in terms of not having sex. However, overcoming like my addiction to pornography and masturbation has been about 2 years. How it happened, first of all, by the help of God, like being honest to God about this is how I'm feeling right now. I need your help. I need your strength. Your strength is made perfect in my weakness. This is my weakness right now. This person or this image or this particular situation is my weakness. Even asking God to like clear some thoughts and memories from my mind. I think a lot of us get tempted not just by the things that we see, but the things that we remember. And so asking God to really help me deal with those aspects of my memory, the more I took time to really think about the consequences or the results of what it is I was doing, and also just to learn the dysfunctional roots of why I started doing it, I understood that, okay, listen, this thing is not good. Like, it's not just saying, okay, I'm gonna not have sex before marriage because the Bible tells me so, but it's actually understanding the wisdom behind the principle, the wisdom behind that instruction, the wisdom behind that advice and that command. And once you understand it, you realize, okay, this thing is going to save me so much time, so much energy, so much heartbreak, and stop me from becoming extremely dysfunctional. Once I took my time to actually understand the principles, the celibacy was a lot easier. I think also an advantage I had was my celibacy journey was obviously closely linked to my singleness. There was nobody around me, but okay, well, I mean, you can jump into situationships, have one night stands, things like that. I mean, I was at uni at the time, so having sex, wow, like people were doing it. But for me at the time, I wasn't in a relationship, so it meant that I wasn't tempted by my boyfriend. You know, I will be able to give you easier or probably different answers when I do end up, you know, getting into a serious relationship and maybe getting engaged and stuff like that, but also putting practical boundaries in place, block some websites on my phone, putting like a child block on my phone, not calling any of my exes. I don't have any of their numbers. It comes down to killing the flesh. It's not a bad thing to have sex in the right context, but out of context is very dangerous. And so for me, it was, how do I subject my flesh all the time to what my spirit knows is right? I did fast, yes. I've had, you know, multiple fasts where I've made one of my prayer points my sexuality, prayer, constantly about it, never assuming that I've got it on lock. I think sometimes with celibacy, we assume, okay, yeah, I've been doing this for long enough, I'm a pro. No, you're not. Temptations are diverse, you know, so you need constant daily renewal and updates of your strength and your capacity to stop yourself from doing it and being disciplined. How to explain to believers who don't really practice how important it is that you and your significant other are both Christian, because I know they are with unbelievers and I don't want to offend them. They always ask me this question, that is, how are you going to find this unicorn man? So I personally feel like this we need to have a discussion. We need to talk. Basically, I think that there's a huge conception that there aren't a lot of men who are celibate. There aren't a lot of men who would understand maybe your Christian journey or your choice to be celibate. And I think that notion, both within the world and within the church, has come from the fact that men have been characterized within society as just inherently sexual beings, that there is no way there is any man out there who's going to understand what it means to wait for marriage, who's going to understand what it means to be abstinent or celibate from sex and restrained from sex for an elongated amount of time. Is unrealistic. And I personally just choose to not feed into that world narrative. And I think what's also helped me is that I've got examples around me of men who are, of men who have. And yes, we all may have our struggles, but they are actually trying. I'm gonna leave a link to Live from Layfield. Those girls are amazing, and they did a video with some guys I actually know who are also on this celibacy journey. They had a very candid and much needed conversation about celibacy and sex with men, Christian men. So if you want to watch that, just so that you can know there are other men out there who believe in this thing and who are on their own journeys of celibacy. I've done a video on celibacy before, answering somebody's dilemma on the fact that they are waiting for marriage and their partner is not. And one of the advice that I gave was, you want to make sure that you're with someone who is not a unicorn. They're not a unicorn, they're not rare. Let me dispel that lie for you. There are men out there who are virgins. There are men out there who are celibate and abstinent, and who will wait. You want to be with one of them. Keep your standard of, okay, I want to be with somebody who has this same priority as me. I want to be with somebody who is not just being celibate for me, but is being celibate for God. At this stage now, if you were to get into another relationship, would you be actively looking for someone who has developed a relationship with Christ, or would you just explore the relationship but make it clear that your love for God comes before anything else, and kind of hope that they come to know God as well? So I, at this stage of my relationship with God, I'm not interested in dating as a form of evangelism. I am not going to date you to convert you. I don't want your relationship with God to be maintained by me, because then your authority, or the person you're submitted to, is not God, it's actually me. It's actually my desires. It's actually my expectation of you. And my expectation, my desire, or me is not going to convict you when you do something wrong. It's not going to have the strength to change you when you're acting up. It's not going to have the strength to change your character like the Holy Spirit does. So I want to be with somebody who is pursuing a relationship with God for themselves, out of their own motivations. And it is 100% pivotal for me to date somebody of the same faith, as me. And yeah, that's kind of that on that. Have you ever thought of online dating as a Christian, navigating the question of taking dating in your own hands versus waiting on God for the right partner? So I believe that God can use anything to bring you your right partner. So I don't think God, will just magically make a man appear in my room and this man's gonna be like bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, she is woman. I don't believe that that's how it's gonna happen. If that's what God wants to do, then interesting. But at the same time, I think God can use online dating for you to find your partner. I have two amazing friends, Jimmy and Pam, who met on a dating app, and they are like just perfect. I think online dating, have I done it? Yeah, I have. I even did it recently. It didn't work too well for me, but I'm not completely like ruling it out. If that's something that will help me connect to someone, maybe my husband's not in the UK, maybe he's in another country. How else am I going to meet him but like through social media or online dating? I don't think it's necessarily me going out hunting for a man, but I think it's me putting myself out there and using an opportunity to do it. Sometimes with Christian women, we get so caught up in this fantasy that it's almost like a Prince Charming fantasy, that my husband's gonna find me as I'm hidden away in my room reading my Bible. And whilst it's fantastic to be doing those things, we live in a real world where people need to see you to know if they're attracted, to get to know you. And so if we're just hiding away, how's he gonna see you? These are the things we need to think about. What do you think about friendship before relationship? And if so, does that mean you have more than one friendship? That's interesting. So I guess kind of dating multiple people before you get serious with one person. If it works for you, it works for you. I've never really done it. I've never really been speaking to more than one person in that kind of way. If we are talking about like true friendship, we are just friends. You can maintain friends with as many people as you want to. But if you are kind of talking to someone with this intention of, I think he could be my partner, I think for me, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but for me, the amount of time I'd kind of want to invest in getting to know you, I don't know if I'd be able to do that for multiple people. However, I know that there are, several women who I know who are Christians as well, who date multiple people at the same time, very casually, kind of with all cards laid out on the table, as long as you're both on the same page and no one's getting hurt. Do you believe in the concept of the one? No. I think it's a flawed concept. I think if we all only had one person, it takes one person to mess up for us all to be rubbished, you know? So no, I don't believe in the concept of the one. I do believe though that there are people out there who are well suited to the course of life that you're going on. And I think you need to look for a person who's well suited for where it is you're going. I don't think of it as in the one, as in the only one, but I think of it as in the one who I want to do life with. What's the best thing that has happened to you due to being single? This is such a nice question. Having the clarity to be more intimate with God than anybody else. Our intimacy is more directed towards a person, more directed towards satisfying ourselves than it is getting to know God. And obviously, since this was something I did right after I got saved, it was just time for me to be like, okay, God, like, there's no one else for me to run to, there's no one else for me to talk to in these times that I would usually obviously be you spend a lot of time invested in your partner. In this time, I haven't got a partner to be invested in, so let me invest in my time with you. You know, there's only so many hours in a day I can speak to my girls, and I'm not one of those people. I'm very bad with messages. Anyone who knows me knows that. And so I spend a lot of time by myself on my own. I also work for myself, so I spend a lot of time on my own. Not only am I not distracted by a person, but I'm also not distracted by my own comparisons. Like, this singleness journey has been more than just I'm not having sex with someone or I just haven't got a boyfriend. It has been me putting my trust, my faith, my time in God's hands. I don't want to put that level of expectation of provision, even of company, of getting my self-esteem. Oftentimes we put our self-esteem in relationships. And so it's like, I don't want to put my self-esteem in my boyfriend, because my boyfriend can change. And I've experienced that several times where I've been in a relationship with someone and they just change their mind about me, and they start, you know, where they were lovey-dovey in the beginning, they were giving me all these compliments. Now I'm, you know, all sorts of stupidity. Like, I don't look right, I don't talk right, I don't act right. They compare me to, you know, these girls that they see elsewhere. But God will never do that. You know, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. God's nature is to stay the same today, yesterday, forever. And so for me, it was allowing myself to really commune and be intimate with God, like with clear focus, clear vision, not from the perspective of heartbreak, not from the perspective of being offended, not from the perspective of comparing him. I laid down all my idols of relationships, because relationships was my idol. I laid that all down and I just focused on him. Another thing that has really grown, not only is my relationship with him, but obviously me pursuing my destiny, me pursuing my purpose, me walking in entrepreneurship. And that's not to say these things wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in a relationship. However, the speed with which everything has happened, I think, has been because I've been with God for so long, listening and choosing to listen to him, choosing to spend my time. And I'm not saying I pray 24/7. I'm not saying I get it perfect all the time, but choosing to spend my time more so with God has allowed me to actually download strategies from the creator, from my creator, about what I was created to do. So it's meant that I could pursue purpose and destiny a lot quicker than I would have before, and that's just a huge benefit. I also posted this on my story, and ooh child, the questions. How did you deal with feelings of loneliness if you had them? I definitely had them. I definitely had feelings of, oh my gosh, I wish there was somebody here with me, doing this journey with me here on earth. And how did I deal with loneliness practically? I hung out with my friends more. I think sometimes we invest so much in, we think the only relationship we need to invest in are romantic ones. When actually I have sisters, I have brothers, I have a mum and a dad, I have friends. I also have a church community that I serve in, and so my relationships go far beyond my romantic ones. And so how am I spending my time investing in those? I do date nights with, you know, girl nights, girls night out, girls night in. I also do invest in the things that I'm doing and building a community around that. So I never really feel lonely anymore, because I've kind of diverted my attention away from having like a romantic partner and just towards having friends and genuine communication and companionship with people that I already know. And so let me just place some lip gloss on my lips and then we can talk. Do you ever feel that your time will not come? I did allow myself, especially in the beginning, to just sit down and think, what if I'm called to be a eunuch? What if I am called to be somebody who never gets married? That a romantic relationship is not the only relationship that you can have in life that will fulfill you. And so I really did sit down, and I think anyone who's pursuing singleness should do this, because it will help you figure out if a relationship is your idol. If you go to God and you're like, this is something that I desire, but I'm happily gonna lay it. It's like that Abraham and Isaac moment. This is something that I've wanted for a long time. But if this is something you're asking for me to sacrifice, will you sacrifice it or not? Will you burn it on the altar or not? And so for me, that was that period of determining, is this relationship thing my God? Am I even pursuing this Christianity thing so I can become the Proverbs 31 woman, so I can get a good wife? You know, a lot of people within our community will tell you, know, be a praying wife, be a praying mother. And it's like, is my relationship with God just there to help my relationship with my spouse and to help my relationship with other people? Or do I genuinely care about him? And so I found that question God was using to test my heart's condition, and also to reveal my heart's condition to me. How invested was I in my relationship with God versus relationship with man? And what if I had never had one ever again? Was I gonna, you know, die? No. I do still say it. Like, if you ask my friends, don't get it twisted, I'm still out here like, guys, I really think I do want to be married soon, because I do get to places where I'm like, yeah, I would desire to be married. I would desire to be in a relationship. I do think being in relationships are good. I think it's a season of beauty, but also it's discovering the beauty in my singleness. I'll talk to married people and they're like, nope, you better value this single time that you have. And so it's really taking my attention off of that desire and more so on, okay, God has it logged down. You know, God actually cares about the things that you care about. He listens to the desires of your heart, and he gives them to you according to his will for you. Or you can just go and pursue whatever it is you want to pursue. You do have free will. And so for me, it's more so, God, I want your desires for me. I want your will for me. And if you haven't brought the guy yet, if you know he hasn't seen me and found me yet, then that's fine, because my desire isn't what I'm worshipping right now. I'm worshipping you, and you are speaking on several other things at this time. You're speaking about my education, you're speaking about my business, you're speaking about my community, you're speaking to me about YouTube, you're putting me on assignments. So really and truly, I can't stay here stuck on the fact that I desire a relationship, and that's how I don't get crippled by it. Dealing with insecurities in your single season, because everyone seems to be booed up. One thing that, as I keep mentioning, has really come up during my singleness in terms of my own self-reflection and God really dealing with me, has been how much of my self-esteem, how much of my identity, and how much of my confidence was placed in whether or not I was in a relationship, and also what my partner thought of me. Oftentimes everyone's booed up, and the reason why I'm not booed up is because there's something wrong with me. We're letting our relationship status be a reflection on our character. And I think that's because a lot of times we think God gives relationships, or we get relationships as a reward for being a good person, but there are loads of good people out there who are single. We think God gives you your partner as a reward for diligently seeking him. No. We think that you don't have a partner because it's a punishment for not being prepared enough. And I think these things about timing and divine timing, or the timing to do with the things of life, you don't need to think about them too deep. Like for me, if I see my friends being booed up and stuff, I don't think what is wrong with me. I think that that can even sometimes be rooted in a comparison that then leads to jealousy, which then leads to envy. But also, I'm just not consumed by this idea that everyone is booed up, because not everyone is booed up and happy. Not everyone is booed up and flourishing. Not everybody is booed up and in a purpose-filled relationship. A lot of people are booed up and in crisis. I don't want that. Is physical attraction and attractiveness a must in choosing a partner? Best believe it. Best believe it. Yes. I need to be. Oftentimes we get so spiritual that, oh, she could speak in tongues and he can pray and he can, you know, he could heal and he could do. These are all amazing things that we should, you know, look for if it's important to you. But at the same time, I've got to look at you. I've got to have sex with you. I have got to want you physically. There's got to be that level of, you know, attraction there 100%. Should we just be driven by attraction, physical attraction? No. I think it's a foolish thing to think you can be with somebody who you absolutely are not physically attracted to. That's not to say be driven by lust, because lust often drives out all wisdom. It drives out all sense from your mind. Use your sense, use your wisdom, use the Spirit of God. Are you seeing someone? No. I put on my story that you guys should ask me these single questions about singleness whilst I'm still single before I start throwing marriage vlogs at you. And suddenly everybody starts thinking, yo, what you saying? What you saying? No, I'm not in a relationship. I'm just prophesying over myself. Advice you would give for anyone who is Christian and is single at the moment? Learn to enjoy it. Find the beauty, like pray for God to open your eyes to the beauty of this time. I always tell people that no matter how hard the celibacy has been, no matter how lonely, or no matter the pressure, I have genuinely never been more happy than during this time. It has made me so uncomfortable, but that uncomfortability was always to deliver me to a place of wholeness. It was always to deliver me to a place of healing and deliver me into a place of actual joy and peace. I never had peace before surrounding myself or my relationships, or always feeling insecure because of other people's mistakes and choices. And going through this period of singleness had made me address more than just my relationship issues. It's made me really look at identity issues and parent hurts and just real dysfunctional processes towards myself, body confidence issues, eating problems, loads of things that you'll never really clear your mind to think about. This has allowed me to focus on, and God has so graciously helped me figure it out, understand myself a lot more, and also just heal from certain things and grow into somebody who I actually really love. On the other side of this process, if God is leading you to it, is Him really molding you, cultivating you, polishing you, and loving you to your best. You know, you grow in His love, and I have grown so much because I've just allowed God to love me, and it's been undistorted by relying on the love of anybody else. So on that note, I'm gonna end this video right here, because my next one's gonna be very juicy and probably just as long. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting. And I just want to pray for anyone who's single right now, that you just find the beauty in this singleness season, but also that you just find the beauty of love in this season, loving yourself, loving God, but also God's love for you. So yeah, take care, stay beautiful, and stay blessed. Mwah.